Yes, we're still talking nothing but politics, and that's exactly what we do every Tuesday's edition. And today is the joyful Tuesday's edition. Public affairs commentator Dayo Fagbolu has joined us yet again this morning, and we're continuing from where we stopped. It's a pleasure to have you on our program.
The pleasure's
Happy New
mine.
Year.
Same to you.
The case at the court presently, appeal court, that's the presidential case,
Right.
Involving PDP, APC, APM, LP. During the closing session with the lead counsel of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he made some statements and he used some words like chaos, some words like anarchy. We actually had, before you, we had a gentleman, a legal practitioner,
Right.
who talked about the 25% or not 25%. So that I will not want to go in detail regarding legal terminologies with you, but let's look at those words. Particularly the implications of those words for the country, for investors, and how statesman would you describe those statements? Even though, yes, they were not uttered by the president, but by his lead counsel.
Well, for starters, I think there's a tendency for us to sensationalize everything in the bid to sell news, in the bid to sell our organizations, generally. The bottom line is it was a closing remark. And you must remember that a lot of the conversations, even legal terms, are metaphoric. They don't necessarily refer to a specific instance. There are words that are multi-descriptive, and therefore they do not necessarily mean what they stand for directly, but they must be applied in the context of the conversation. I think in this case, his lead counsel was making his closing remarks, and he said that one of the things he stressed was the fact that there has never been any judicial precedence in which the conversations they were having and the appeals that LP and the Labour Party and the PDP were making has been addressed. So it might create a discord or a discomfort in the system. Now, we all know, if we're going to look at it from other perspectives, intellectual perspectives, they say everything is drawn towards chaos. And basically, what you do is you address it by bringing an equilibrium into play. So in the conversation, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, it's a metaphoric representation. It doesn't speak to anarchy or speak to chaos
Couldn't
directly.
you have used some mild words? Or you think...
I think the object was to stun the people that were listening. Sometimes you use words to drive a point home, to call people's attention to a particular thing that we have never seen anything like this before. Now, if you generally apply the rules now to a situation like this, it will deviate from the standard position that we are used to, and people will find it difficult to contend with the change. And basically, we all know that change is one of the most difficult things ever.
Yeah.
So you see, one must address these conversations in context. These are words. And the object of a word in itself is more hermeneutical. And what I mean by hermeneutical is that words are meaning in hermeneutics, words give meaning in relation to the meaning of other words. That's what old Bible scholars used to use to translate the Bible. They derive meaning for a word by looking at the meaning of other words. So in the context in which these words were used, it does not speak to anarchy in itself, but a response to change, which might be negative. That's all.
Okay, so now talking about words, and
Yes.
because I really have to look at it in this light.
Right.
Look at things that are happening in the Southeast Nigeria.
Yes.
We're seeing where some persons, the IPOB are saying sit at home.
Right.
Those words are not mere words anymore, somehow, because we're seeing even the government of the day in different dimensions in Enugu, in Imo, they've told the people to rather say, defy the words by these people, come
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Yet, yesterday we saw in the news that people did not come out.
Yes.
And the government is even also saying that every time you sit at home, like on Mondays, we'll lose as much as over 30, we'll lose millions. We're losing a lot of revenue and things
Right.
like that. What should the government do? I'm looking at it in this. I'm just want to find out what should the Southeast governors do in appealing the case, because it's getting too long at the time for us as a country. It's getting too long. We might say sometimes some people say it doesn't concern me because I'm not in that region.
Yes.
But I was privileged to be in that region one particular time. I had to get to the airport. They had to use military guys to help me to take me to the airport, the convoy to take me to the airport and fly me out of the state at the time. So, but what should we do at this time?
Well, let's start off first with the context.
Yeah.
I mean, the context is disruptive. The context is destructive. Let's use both those two Ds.
Yeah.
Now, I see it from that perspective is there's an intention, and the intention is clear. The intention is to disrupt and to destroy a procedure or process of people carrying out commercial transactions in such a way that it will weigh on their lives negatively. So the context in that case has been settled clearly. They have backed it up with action. In this case, they have gone out and they have attacked people who came out contrary to their instruction. Now, those things are very clear. It's not like the prior one, because I'm referring to context.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about what can be done.
Yes.
It's a very tricky thing. And unfortunately, I always have to refer to a people, to a culture, to a program, to an attitude. Now, the question I ask myself is, if everybody came out, what will be the response of the government? What will be the response of the people that have put, let's say the people that put this instruction in place is IPOB for the case of this conversation. How would they respond? Now, lives have been lost, people have been attacked, you know. The issue now is that they are happy to contend with the effect or with the outcome of staying at home as opposed to actually going against the instruction. They're happy to lose a few millions or a few billions as opposed to losing their lives. So you need to understand that it's a question of choice